I am so excited today to share with you about nut milks. It's one of my favorite things to make. I got started in making my own nut milks back when I first got into raw back in 1997. And believe it or not, I would blend the nuts and the water in the blender, and then I would take one of those metal strainers and stir with a spoon until all the milk came through, which probably took me a good 15 to 20 minutes. And then I started getting these ideas of in my mind. And one thing that happens, you'll notice when you start eating a high raw diet, is your creativity starts to go a lot bigger. And my energy was more, and I had more ideas, and I actually would be able to follow through on the ideas, which is the most important part, right? Anybody can have an idea. So one of the ideas that I got that I actually followed through on was the Amazing Nut Milk Bag and juice and sprouts. So it's called the Amazing Nut Milk Bag, but it's also good for juicing and sprouting. And what I love about this bag is that all I'm gonna do is just blend my nuts or seeds that have been soaked and sprouted. Now remember how important it is to soak and sprout your nuts or seeds, because it increases your nutrient content, sometimes up to 10 times. It can increase the protein up to 10 times. So imagine a little lowly almond. You soak it, you sprout it. This has been sitting here for probably a good 4 hours after I soaked it overnight. It's actually, as it sits in this jar, germinating and turning into a tree. So the protein is just going crazy. It's going off the charts. It's increasing so that it can become a tree. So I'm going to get a lot of nutrition from this milk that I'm making. This could be hazelnuts that I'm using. I love the flavor of hazelnut milk, especially if you're a coffee drinker and you love hazelnut coffee. Make your own hazelnut milk, make your own home-brewed organic coffee, and you've got a great combination. So there's just so many things you can do with nut milks, and I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you how to make it. So I've got my 4 cups here, and I always soak everything in glass jars. I want to see what's going on in there. It's easy. Glass doesn't leach into your food like plastic would. Metal bowls are okay, but sometimes you just can't see what's going on. You don't even know what's in the bowl. I just like to walk out in my kitchen in the morning and see all my glass lined up. So this morning I drained these, and like I said, they've been sitting here a while. I'm just going to start with your recipe calls for about 1 cup of soaked almonds. Now, if you want to make an almond cream, you would just double the amount of almonds if it's for your coffee or if it's a creamer. So really, this is up to you. If you're new to nut milks, use more nuts. If you are someone that wants less fat in your diet and you just want a little bit of flavor, use less. And so more or less, just depending on the richness of the milk. So it looks like here I've got about almost 2 cups. And then we're just going to add our water in. This is purified water. And you can do cold water if you want your milk to be cold right away. And it's going to go up to about almost the 4-cup line by the time I get the nuts and the water in. Now, what's great about these Vitamix blenders is there's a measuring cup on the side. So you can always just use that as your measurement versus having to get a bunch of different measuring cups out. The next thing I want to do is blend. It's just 2 ingredients, the nuts or the seeds and the water. And I'm just going to put my lid on and make sure my blender's on low as usual. And then we're going to go ahead and turn it on. And then when you turn it off, if there's no rattling, you'll know it's blended long enough. You don't want to overblend it, because if you overblend it, then it's going to have a hard time fitting through these little fine mesh fibers, especially sunflower seeds, cashews, and macadamia nuts. If you overblend them, you're going to just be trying to squeeze for a really long time. So less blending is better, but you do want it to stop rattling, because otherwise you didn't get the full amount of milk out of the nuts. Now that it's blended, I'm just going to take a pitcher of some kind. It can be a measuring pitcher, a glass one, and I'm going to just line it with my nut milk bag. What's great about these bags is they're large enough that you can actually put it over the top, so you're not going to get overflow going somewhere, and you don't have to hold on to the bag. So if you're doing this by yourself, you don't really need another person helping you. Pour the liquid into the bag, and then this is really important. You always want to draw this drawstring. I created the drawstring on this because what will happen is otherwise the pulp could come flying out the top. And you don't think it's going to happen, but it does happen. So then what you're going to do is give it a good squeeze. And I find that squeezing from the bottom is better than squeezing from the top, and maybe from the middle. And it should be pretty gentle. I always remind men, because they're very strong, that if they over squeeze, they are going to pop the bag. So bags last me a really long time because I don't over squeeze. It's a firm pressure, but you're not really like manhandling it. That's where that word came from. Okay, so let's twist a little bit gently. And again, we're not like over twisting. We're just getting enough to get all that liquid out. And I know it's done when it kind of just stops dripping. And what's great is this fiber that's left is going to go into my freezer, into a gallon Ziploc bag, and I'm going to save it for our almond bread recipe. And in other lessons, you'll see that we're going to be doing other things with the almond pulp as well. And now I can either take this almond milk and put it in the fridge just as is back in my jar, or I can make it into something sweet. I can put it back in the blender. I can add, let's say I want to add in some dates. You can put a couple dates in there. I like stevia because really I focus on low glycemic. So I'm going to put about 15 drops of stevia in there. And then let's add some flavor. Let's add some vanilla. Everybody seems to love vanilla almond milk. So let's say about 5 or 6 drops of the medicine flower vanilla essence. If you've got a vanilla bean, you could put a vanilla bean in there, scrape the insides out. If you're using vanilla extract, about a teaspoon. You could use other flavors as well, hazelnut. You can just use whatever you want really in there as far as flavorings. Chocolate essence is a really nice one. And then really honestly, I don't even have to blend again because it's liquid that's in there. When I pour it into the jar, that's going to be enough to mix it up. Now I've got about a quart of milk here, and this is going to last about 4 or 5 days in my refrigerator. So if you really like to drink a lot of milk, like maybe you have kids or you have people that are making it into smoothies, maybe do a couple batches of these or fill your blender all the way up to the 8-cup line and do a couple cups of almonds in there. And then that way you'll have enough to last 4 or 5 days so you don't feel like you have to make it every day. Glass is going to keep it a lot fresher, a lot longer than say a plastic bottle or something else. And I love opening my fridge and just seeing a jar of almond milk in there waiting for me in the morning. It's just awesome. I love to put it in my smoothies, which you're going to learn how to do in the smoothie lesson. So hopefully you will love and enjoy making almond milk as much as I do. And remember that if you do a price comparison, if you break it down, you only need about a half a cup of unsoaked nuts, like let's say almonds. And that will turn into a cup of soaked almonds. And if you put 1 cup of soaked almonds in with about 2 to 3 cups of water, you're going to get a quart of milk here. And that's going to cost you for 1/2 cup of almonds. If you divide that 10 by, so that's maybe about $2.50 for a quart of almond milk for your own fresh enzyme rich. And if you're buying it from the store, you're probably paying about $3.50 for all kinds of weird ingredients, something that's been heated, processed, not even organic. So this is definitely the better way to go. You're going to find that you're going to really feel better drinking this milk than any other milk out there. So enjoy.